I've been thinking about the extraordinary scene of Spencer Fellow facing the police and his punishment. And while I think the punishment is severe, the punishment for rioting in the UK has always been historically severe, reflecting the state's desire to maintain public order and control dissent. And the most infamous historical example of death as a punishment for rioting stems from the Riot Act of 1714. But death was always part of the punishment for riot, going all the way back to Henry VIII and Thomas More reading the Riot Act and that extraordinary speech from Shakespeare. The Riot Act of 1714, which was during a period of political instability following the Hanoverian succession, it was designed to suppress public disorder, particularly riots fueled by political grievances, economic hardship, religious tensions. And under the Act, a magistrate or a local official could disperse a gathering of 12 or more people by reading aloud a proclamation, "Our sovereign Lord and King chargeth and commandeth all persons being assembled immediately to disperse themselves and peaceably to depart to their habitations or their lawful businesses, upon the pains contained in the Act made in the first year of King George for preventing tumults and riotous assemblies." And if the crowd did not disperse within 1 hour, they were considered to be rioters under the law, and the crime was punishable by death. You've got things like the Gordon riots, triggered by the anti-Catholic sentiment and the opposition in 1778, the Peterloo massacre. While not technically a riot, but a peaceful protest for parliamentary reform, local magistrates interpreted it as an unlawful assembly. Under the spirit of the Riot Act, mounted troops charged the crowd, killing 15, injuring hundreds. No formal executions followed Peterloo, but it highlighted the state's willingness to use draconian measures against perceived disorders. The swing riots, the protest by agricultural workers against wage reductions and the introduction of threshing machines. 600 people rioted. 600 of the rioters were tried, and 19 were executed, and many others were sent to penal colonies. By the 19th century, the use of capital punishment for rioting had begun to wane, reflecting broader changes in attitudes towards the death penalty and punishment. But the legal response to rioting has always been severe in Britain, and what I find so interesting is the contrast between the punishment of controversial figures like Assange and Spencer. Both cases involve technicalities. Assange for bail skipping in relation to his asylum claims, and Spencer for incitement captured on CCTV, but their punishments illuminate broader issues of justice. Assange's solitary confinement, framed as necessary for security or administrative purpose, is arguably a severe and dehumanizing measure, and critics suggest it extends beyond punishment into a form of deterrence or even retribution, especially given his role as a whistleblower polarizing governments and the public. And Spencer's punishment, if limited to a public humiliation and a metaphorical or a literal brick in the groin, raises the question of the boundaries for ridicule and mob justice. I mean, if in a sense, Spencer has already suffered his punishment if we were to reintroduce the medieval stocks. He's been the subject of ridicule. He's been the subject of things thrown at him, albeit by accident. Unlike Assange, however, Spencer's actions directly incited violence, which is thoroughly reprehensible and seems to have resulted actually in comparatively lenient consequences if you compare the two. And this disparity highlights how public figures can be punished as much by the scorn of society as by the legal system. And Assange has been vilified. And while ridicule may seem a cathartic response to reprehensible acts, it risks sliding into. It cannot be the basis anymore for justice. And proportionality, addressing crimes without veering into excessive vindictive punishment, is surely what is desirable, but I'm not sure that was attained when we look at Assange and compare Assange's punishment to the relative leniency towards Spencer. Unless, of course, we think, well, oh, yeah, Spencer, he's already been ridiculed. He's already been, he's bashed with bricks. So 2.5 years with half of that time served, and then he'll be released on some sort of license, providing that is that the prison authorities can find a tag which fits his leg. Who knows? Who knows what will happen about that? But that's another issue. I think we're in need of a serious overhaul of our justice system, and I'm not sure our justice system does its job. And I worry particularly about whistleblowers and the nasty way in which justice is used to silence them.